The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman. Well, it's Monday, and you know what that means. It's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. If you want to call the station, you can send me an email at blackfocusradio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Any suggestions you may have for the show or your comments about the show, we'd love to hear you. And don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And when you go out to the YouTube page, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We are slowly moving up as far as we need to do better. I'm just going to be honest with you. So please go out and tell a friend, or tell a friend, or tell mama, daddy, cousin, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, all them folks. Hey, go subscribe to Black Focus Radio. Okay? Also, don't forget to support our sponsors, JoyNetRadio.com and RibRub.com, where, you know, we like to bake it, grill it, and smoke it. Oh, yeah, as I take your hand and lead you down the pathland to barbecue land, okay? So that's what's on the agenda. So for today, boy, we got a great show for you. We put in a little work. A lot of things have happened over the last couple of weeks. I will tell you that I was in Washington, D.C., so we're going to talk a little bit about that just on Friday. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But as you know, we're going to do Black Facts, of course. I'm going to read a letter about Benjamin Bannker. I believe it's to Thomas Jefferson. And, of course, there's going to be a lot of reading today because I'm going to try to make some points here. So we're also going to talk about the Smithsonian and what Donald Trump and his ilk are trying to do to rewrite history, and why it's important for you all to make sure that you are teaching history in your churches and your synagogues and your mosque, because that's the only way you're going to really be able to combat this as well. So, and by the way, we're going to talk about the Democrats. There's only one plan the Democrats need. I'm going to tell you what that is. Okay? So just hang on to that. We're going to keep talking about Epstein. Don't let this die, folks. This is a mass cover-up. And apparently there's been some news that came out today, or I should say on Friday, at least some released transcripts of the meeting between Donald Trump's personal attorney and Ghislaine Maxwell. This should be disturbing to us all. If this doesn't speak about rich people owning and being able to buy their way out of criminal activity, I don't know what anything does. We're also going to try to make sure that we talk a little bit about Israel, because there's apparently a pedophile that was from Israel that was in Las Vegas that got busted, and they let him slip out of the country. Who do you think I mean by they? We're going to talk about that. And while we're talking about Israel, we're also going to bring up a story I saw about Israel wanting to have the same military, veterans' rights as American soldiers. Why are we letting these people run our country? I've got to ask that questions, okay? And finally, Democrats fight fire with fire. We might move that up a little bit and change some things around, but these are the things that are on the agenda. And of course, if you have not heard, the Target CEO has been replaced by the COO. But that means a lot of things, and it should speak volumes to black people. So, and I'll tell you how all of that ties in to what we must do, okay? But before we move forward, as you all well know, we have to do Black Facts. And I'm going to throw some facts at you because there were some things, and I talked a little bit about it on the show last week, but there were some things that this week has really disturbed me, okay? Has really disturbed me. All right, so without further ado, let's do Black Facts.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Okay, so as you all know, last week I posted some information or some sound from Jillian Michaels, who was on CNN trying to minimize slavery. Okay, there have been many others. And what's going on here is that white supremacists have taken over the government and they are trying to rewrite history. As a matter of fact, just back in 2017, when the National Civil Rights Museum was dedicated or under Trump's administration, and I didn't know this, he made some glowing remarks about this facility. Now, all of a sudden, he's changed his tune. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we talk about the Smithsonian. But I want to make something perfectly clear today, that anyone who would fix their mouths to suggest that slavery was not that bad, it's a good thing that we're broadcasting on Joynet Radio. I'm just going to call you a POS. Okay? And if you don't know what that means, go look it up on the interweb. So I want to make a couple of points here because I want to start off with just a few things that happened during slavery. We know for a fact that even before Africans arrived here in America, that there are millions at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. It was called the Middle Passage. So they would be thrown overboard for death. They would be thrown overboard because when many of the European countries finally outlawed slavery, or they could only have a certain amount of weight, they would throw women, children, men, pregnant women overboard, shackled together. Okay, so slavery wasn't that bad? What? What are you talking about? Where are you getting your facts? Because we know that the lies will wilter when facts are provided. So that's why this is important. So and oh, by the way, let's talk, this part is going to talk a little bit about what happened once they got here. Okay? Under chattel slavery in the United States, rape and murder were not just crimes committed against enslaved people, but were tools of control that were often legally protected. The violence was systemic, pervasive, and fundamental to maintaining the institution of slavery. Did you hear what I just said? The systematic use of rape. For enslaved women, sexual violence by slave owners, overseers, and even white women was a constant threat. Under the law, enslaved people were considered property, meaning they had no legal protection against sexual assault. Hello? I'm not done yet, okay? Because we're going to take that lie that they're trying to promote and we're going to stuff it up their ass. Let me continue. Legalized sexual assault. The law was designed to protect the system, not the enslaved. For example, a 1662 law established that children inherited the legal status of their mother. This created a direct economic incentive for slave owners to rape enslaved women, increasing their human property and wealth. It was a tool of control. Rape was a psychological and physical weapon used to dominate and dehumanize enslaved women. White enslavers used sexual violence as a way to demonstrate their absolute power and degrade the humanity of enslaved people. The wives of slave owners often punished enslaved women who were victims of their husband's sexual violence. These victims could be whipped, beaten, and otherwise brutalized by their mistresses, who viewed them as responsible for their husband's infidelity. Enslaved men were often powerless to protect their wives, daughters, and sisters from assault. any attempt to defend their families would be met with violent punishment, and this inability to protect their loved ones was a deliberate strategy to emasculate and subjugate the black men. Hello? Are y'all following me yet? We ain't done yet. All right? The normalization of murder. While the murder of a white person by a slave was a capital offense, the murder of an enslaved person by a white person was rarely punished and often not even considered a crime. Oh, let's move forward from slavery to Jim Crow and the Black Summer. How many of those white people that went through, the Red Summer, that raided and massacred all of those black people from Elaine, Arkansas, to Tulsa, to Colfax, to Chicago, how many, to Little Rock, Arkansas, it just goes on and on and on. How many of those white people stood trial? Hello? Oh, by the way, y'all said slavery wasn't that bad. And I'm talking about after slavery was over, you all were still raping and killing black people. And none of you stood trial. Byron Della Beckwith, who bragged about killing Medgar Evers, didn't stand trial till late in his life. Come on, man. Slavery wasn't that bad. Get the hell out of here. Because slaves were legally designated as property, violence against them, including murder, was a matter of mastering, destroying his own property, not a person. While it was, let me take that back. It was a matter of a master destroying his own property, not a person. In other words, he could kill that slave because he was property. He wasn't a person. While some states had laws against the murder of an enslaved person, they were rarely enforced because enslaved people could not testify against a white person in court. Oh, slavery wasn't bad. I can kill a slave. Me, white man, I can kill a slave. But if there was other slaves who witnessed it and they took me to court, the law took me to court, well, who are the witnesses? Because they couldn't testify against me. Slavery wasn't that bad, though. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Violence, including murder, was a daily reality used to enforce labor and submission. This included routine whippings, beatings, and mutilations, often administered with extreme cruelty. After the Civil War, racial terror lynchings became a pervasive form of violence and murder, continuing the legacy of slavery. In the post-Reconstruction South, thousands of black people were murdered by white mobs and individuals seeking to restore white supremacy and nullify the rights of the freed men. I just mentioned that, right? The Red Summer. Yeah. The systematic violence of slavery has been documented by scholars and through primary sources like slave narratives. Narratives by formerly enslaved people such as Harriet Jacobs and William Anderson provide horrific details of sexual and physical violence they endured. Hello? In North Carolina, enslaved people were entitled to be clothed and fed, and the murder of an enslaved person was punishable. However, enslaved people could not testify against whites nor initiate legal actions. There was no protection against rape. The entire system worked against protection of slave women for sexual assault and violence. Hello, y'all, what? Slavery wasn't that bad, though, And by the way, let me just say this, and I know these people don't care because, we understand now that there is a host of pedophiles out there. And we know now that those men were raping little girls, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. But slavery wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. It wasn't that bad. You know what I'm saying? By the way, we've talked about what was it, 2 weeks ago when we talked about how Louisiana was using its prison system to breed children that they would take over at 10 years old. Remember that conversation we had in that Black Fact? But slavery really wasn't that bad. You know what I'm saying? It really wasn't that bad. Says white person, says white woman, says Donald Trump and his band of criminals. Slavery wasn't that bad. And we're going to rewrite history so it won't make us feel that bad that we used to rape little girls and little boys, that we used to have breeding farms for men and women, slaves. Yeah, but slavery wasn't that bad. And by the way, all of whites didn't own slaves. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a moment, because we're gonna debunk some of these lies. And the only lie that we are debunking is the fact that slavery wasn't that bad. Okay? That's the only one we're debunking right now. All right? And we've got stuff on the agenda to do for the show today. But as I get more into this, I become angrier and angrier that someone could fix their mouths to suggest that, slavery wasn't that bad. Okay? Because no matter how you try to dress it up, slavery really wasn't that bad. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So I wanted to throw that out there today because it's important for us to understand that there are people who are trying to change the narrative, who are trying to change history, and we cannot allow that to happen. All right? As horrible as the American slave trade was, it is our past. And what they should be celebrating is how they got over. I've said over and over again is that it is not the black man's job to stop racism and bigotry. It's the white man's job. Because after all, they are the ones who created this monster. And now, instead of having some grace and saying, hey, we messed up, let's fix it. For the last 100 years, they've been trying to do everything that they could to bring us back to the beginning. And right now, we are at the precipice of that beginning if we're not careful. We are going to address that later on in the show as well. So, as I end this Black Fact, I just want to remind you that slavery wasn't that bad. And that's our Black Fact for today.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that Black Fact. We are headed straight to a break, but when we come back from the break, we're going to continue this conversation because I think it's that important. Quite often we shoot through conversations and we don't go back and revisit them, but all of the shows that we've had over the last couple of years are tying into this one thing. All right? So we're going to continue this process because, there are some out there who said, only a few people benefited from slavery. We're gonna set that lie afire here in just a moment as well. So you're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word word about jointedradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at jointedradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on jointedradio.com. David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot, spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. Of course, we'd love to have you to join the show, so come on, join us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget about our one-man campaign to get rid of the N-word. Yep, let's get rid of it. Just don't say it. That's what it's all about. So, Black Facts talked a little bit today because the white people over the last week have been trying to rewrite history. And recently, last week, Donald Trump has attacked the Smithsonian Museum, one of the best museums in the world. And the thing about museums is it takes us, or at least it gives us, a glimpse into our past, our history. And sometimes that past, that history is not very charming. It's not great, but it's part of a building block in order to understand where you were and where you are today. And more importantly, not repeating some of the mistakes those people made during that time period. That is one thing that America has not learned clearly, because now Donald Trump and his ilk has been out trying to rewrite history, as we talked about in Black Facts. And they are now attacking the Smithsonian Institution. I would play the clip that Donald Trump talked about in 2017, but I refuse to ever play that man on this show. Well, let me say, I won't say never, but in this particular case, I will not. I will do everything I can to keep him from having his voice ever on my show. That's just how I feel about him. He is a despicable human being that somehow or another has duped a lot of white people that he would make a great president. And he's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that none of that is the case, unfortunately. And it may end up with dire consequences. So now you go after the Smithsonian Institution, a wonderful museum that covers American history more than anybody else. See, and oh, by the way, they're saying that they're doing that because slavery is it makes them feel bad. When I heard one white woman say, when she takes her kid to the Smithsonian, as if she's ever taken her kid to the Smithsonian, she says that she don't want her kid seeing that stuff about slavery. Oh, you don't want your kid to know that his ancestors were racist, that killed innocent girls and boys. You don't want them to know that? Why? I just wonder why. You know? So as we look at this, and I'm trying to, here's what one of Donald Trump's people said. Trump's White House special assistant really just said this. What I saw at the Smithsonian Museum was an overemphasis on slavery. We should be able to take our kids through the Smithsonian and be proud when we leave. Okay, that was, let me make sure we get her name right. Her name is Lindsay Halligan, a White House special assistant. So now, after 5 years, Donald Trump thinks the Smithsonian is bad? After the glowing, and the reason I'm surprised because I had never heard him make those remarks while he was president. And obviously it was written, it was a speech. But still, to make those remarks and just 5 years later, all of a sudden the Smithsonian is bad because they're overemphasizing slavery. Well, let me see here. This country, is it the 250th celebration? I should know this, but this is why I tell people that Google is a wonderful tool. Hang on just a moment. How long did the American slave trade last? Okay. The Atlantic slave trade lasted over 400 years. Okay. Now, let's say America was officially America in 1776. Now, we do know that the first slaves arrived in America in 1619. So 1719, 1819, do it with me, girls and boys. 1919. And so that's 300 years right there. So the American slave trade, check this out. 1776, the American slave trade was up and running a 50 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States? Huh? Wait a minute. So, are y'all following me here? So you're saying that it's an overemphasis on slavery? Really? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'm just doing a little math because I want to be precise. Okay. All right. So if you take 1776 and subtract 1619, you will end up with 157 years. So from 1619 to 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was signed into law, and oh, by the way, black people were still 3/4 human beings. Man, y'all need to get the hell out of here. Let me go on with my little thesis. Who benefited from slavery? Because I'm tired of hearing white people talk about they didn't benefit from slavery. Well, we know you're a damn lie. I'm not biting my tongue anymore. You're a damn lie. Every white person, whether you own slaves or not, benefited from slavery. Here's some evidence. The slave trade was highly profitable and far-reaching economic system that benefited a wide range of groups, from European colonial powers and financiers to plantation owners and some African leaders. The system, which relied on the forced labor of enslaved Africans, was instrumental in developing the global capitalistic economy. Hello? And oh, by the way, while you all were enjoying that free labor, black people were still being raped, murdered, and lynched. Your ancestors enjoyed slavery. You benefited from slavery. Let me continue. I won't go into the European. Let me just talk about American colonists and businesses. In North America, slavery's profits were deeply integrated into the economy, benefiting both the South and the North. We ain't playing today. We're going to debunk those lies. Southern plantation owners, these landowners amassed significant wealth from the forced labor of enslaved people who produced cash crops like tobacco, cotton, and sugar. As the cotton kingdom expanded, slave owners became some of the richest people in the United States. And oh, by the way, your folks may not have been a slave owner, but guess what? You may have worked for that good old white man, and he provided food and shelter for your family off the backs of free labor. Financial institutions like banks and insurance companies supported the slave trade, providing capital to plantations and ensuring the property of slave owners. Now, we ain't talking about houses. When you talk about ensuring the property of slave owners, that property was black people. That was bodies. Get the hell out of here with your stupidity. But you know, slavery wasn't that bad. Merchants and ship owners in New England ports like Rhode Island profited directly from building and operating slave ships. You know, those ships that sailed to Africa in the Middle Passage and came back loaded with slaves and had to dump some of them overboard. Oh, by the way, it was cool because they had insurance on those slaves. But slavery wasn't that bad. One other note here. Let me finish. Did white people benefit from slavery? Now, I'm talking about just regular white folks, because you hear that a lot, which is another one of those bald-faced lies. Yeah, I said it. Okay. Yes. White people significantly benefited from slavery, both historical and in the present day. Oh my God, not today. I love me some black folks when they cooking and dancing and entertaining us and scoring touchdowns and slamming basketballs. Oh, no, he didn't say that. Yes, I did. While slave owners directly profited from the unpaid labor of black people, the advantages extended far beyond individual ownership to shape the entire economic, social, and political structure of the United States. Are you kidding me? Huh? Are you kidding me? Remember what I said about, that quote about Lyndon Johnson? You remember that quote? I'm going to pull it up for you because it's important for us to maintain where we are. Because some of y'all don't understand. Y'all don't get it. Let me quote this one more time. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets to you. That's Lyndon Johnson. Okay? But let's get back to whites benefiting. All right? The foundation of wealth. All right? The enormous profits generated by enslaved labor in industries like cotton, tobacco, sugar was foundational to building American wealth. So the bottom line is this. Let me finish it and I'll go back to it. This created generational prosperity for slaveholding families that continues today. Even in the North, the economy was deeply intertwined with and enriched by slavery. Northern industries and financial markets relied on the South's slave-driven production. Wealthy Northerners and enslavers used their profits to found colleges and fund financial markets. But we white, and we ain't benefited from slavery. And you know slavery wasn't that bad. The economy grew rapidly because slave labor cost nothing to the enslaver. The value of enslaved people in 1860 was worth more than all the money in American banks. Excuse me. Let me read that again. The value of enslaved people in 1860, that's all of the enslaved people in 1860, was worth more than all of the money in all of the American banks. This profit margin came at the direct expense of black people's lives and labor. Did your family happen to get a loan to get their first house from one of those banks? Or maybe your family got in the stock market and bought some stock from one of those companies. Or maybe your family sent one of their children to one of those schools that profited from the slave trade. But we know what you're saying. Slavery really wasn't that bad. Oh my God. Social and political benefits. The American slave system rested on a racial hierarchy that placed even the poorest white people above enslaved black people, regardless of their economic status. This system provided psychological benefit and a sense of superiority that prevented many poor whites from challenging the status quo. Wait a minute. Can I read? Wait. Let me read this. Let me read this again, okay? If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. I ain't playing, okay? This is why we have to teach history in our schools. We have to. Well, in our churches, because it's clear that they're not going to teach it in our schools. Slavery provided economic independence for some white women in the South who had legal rights to property and could own enslaved people. This gave them status within a patriarchal society by granting them power over black people. The 3/5 Compromise gave slaveholding states more political power by counting enslaved people in their population totals, granting them disproportionate representation in Congress and the Electoral College. The lasting consequences. Research shows that white populations in areas with higher concentrations of slavery are more prosperous today because of their slave history. This demonstrates how the unjust enrichment of the past continues to fuel contemporary inequality. Even after emancipation, systemic racism and laws like black codes continue to exclude black people from economic opportunities, jobs, and education. Meanwhile, discriminatory housing policies and other practices, that thing called redlining, favored white families, allowing them to accumulate wealth. The legacy of slavery means that the U.S. has a long way to go to achieve racial equality. Addressing systemic inequality requires a reckoning with how the past unjustly enriched white Americans and disenfranchised black Americans. But I'm going to just say it. Don't get mad at me. But slavery really wasn't that bad. Now, let's be real here. It was 157 years before the emancipation before the Declaration of Independence was signed. 157 years. Okay? Now, from 1862 to 1619. I want the numbers to be correct. It was another 244 years, 43 years before the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves and started the Civil War. But slavery wasn't that bad. So here's what's amazing to me. This country, I forgot one other number. I'm sorry. Silly me. From, let's say 1968 minus 1619. If you've done the math in your head, I'm proud of you. But if you haven't done the math, that number is 349 years. If I did that right, from 1619 to 1968, when the civil rights legislation was signed, and the voting rights. I know some were signed early, but I'm giving them 68. Those 2 or 3 years ain't gonna matter in this case. 349 years before black people were even considered equal. You see, you cannot look. Tell you what, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna finish this up when I come back because I am annoyed, if you can tell. It's called Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices, on jointedradio.com.
Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah. Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at jointedradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to jointedradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about jointedradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event, or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at jointedradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on jointedradio.com.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you'd like to join the show, we're setting the record straight. This is an extended hour with black facts. I guess that's what it is. But I just felt it was important for us to set the record straight. And if you don't do anything else, if you don't listen to any other show, this is an important show for you to listen to, because slavery really wasn't that bad. If we are to listen to some of these white people who are in the Trump administration, who are trying to minimize and rewrite history, who are trying to ban books that even talk about slavery. I had planned to at least read this letter by Benjamin Bannker to Thomas Jefferson, because, slavery wasn't that bad. So in this segment, I'm going to read that letter by Benjamin Bannker because I think it's important. Because, as you all say, slavery wasn't that bad. And when I just did the numbers, from 1619, when the first slaves arrived on this campus, on this continent, from 1619 to today, to 1968, are you telling me that slavery wasn't that bad? Yeah, you are, because you're a dumbass. Okay? And I'm not feeling sorry for you. And I don't care if your feelings are hurt. But I think give me a moment here. Let me pull up this letter by Benjamin Bannker, because I think it's important for us to read that letter, because, Benjamin Bannker, and it would probably shock Trump to know that the very White House and the Capitol and all of those buildings around the Washington, D.C., it would probably shock him to know that it was designed by a black man, So here's what Trump said. He said the museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible this country is and how bad slavery was and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success. Oh, there's plenty about success. I'm looking, give me a moment. I'm looking for this Benjamin Bannker thing, because I think it's important for us to understand, because this idiot does not understand what is going on or what has went on. So I apologize that I didn't have it up, because I originally was going to read it, but then I changed my mind. Oh, here we go. We got a few minutes for this segment, and then we'll go to the top of the hour, and we'll try to bring in some of the other stuff that we want to talk about today. All right, so this is to Thomas Jefferson from Benjamin Bannker, August 19, 1791. Now remember, if you don't know the story of Benjamin Bannker, he made a clock that ticked for years. It was made out of wood. He had a photogenic memory. He was part of an apprenticeship that once America became America and they wanted to make Washington, D.C., they hired a French contractor. They probably ticked him off or whatever the case may be. That contractor went back to France, took his plans with him. Benjamin Bannker was the apprentice, and it was Benjamin Bannker who said, I know the plans, and thus Washington, D.C. is designed based on the brain power of a black man. But Donald Trump probably doesn't know that, because he's a damn idiot. Now, here is the letter. It was near Ellicott's Lower Mills, Baltimore County. Sir, I am fully sensible of the greatness of that freedom which I take with you on the present occasion, a liberty which seemed to me scarcely allowable when I reflected on that distinguished and dignified station in which you stand, and almost general prejudice and prepossession, which is so prevalent in the world against those of my complexion. This is Benjamin Bannker to Thomas Jefferson. Suppose it is a truth too well attested to you to need a proof here that we are a race of beings who have long labored under the abuse and censure of the world, that we have long been looked upon with an eye of contempt, and that we have long been considered rather as brutish than human, and scarcely capable of mental endowments. Remember, Benjamin Bannker is why Washington, D.C. is why it is. Sir, I hope I may safely admit, in consequence of that report, which hath reached me, that you are a man far less inflexible in sentiments of this nature than many others, and that you are measurably friendly and well disposed toward us, and that you are willing and ready to lend your aid and assistance to our relief from those many distresses and numerous calamities to which we are reduced. Now, sir, if this is founded in truth, I apprehend you will readily embrace every opportunity to eradicate that train of absurd and false ideas and opinions which so generally prevail with respect to us, and that your sentiments are concurrent with mine, which are that one universal Father hath given being to us all, and that he hath not only made us of one flesh, but he hath also, without partiality, afforded us all the same sensations and endured us all with the same faculties, and that however variable we may be in society or religion, however diversified in situation or color, we are all the same family and stand in the same relation to him. Sir, if these are sentiments of which you are fully persuaded, I hope you cannot but acknowledge that it is the indispensable duty of those who maintain for themselves the rights of human nature and who profess the obligations of Christianity to extend their power and influence to the relief in every part of the human race from whatever burden or oppression they may unjustly labor under. And this I apprehend in full conviction of the truth and obligation of those principles should lead all to. Sir, I have long been convinced that if your love for yourselves and for those inestimable laws which preserve to you the rights of human nature was founded on sincerity, you could not but be solicitous that every individual of whatsoever rank and distinction might with you equally enjoy the blessings thereof. Neither could you rest satisfied short of the most active diffusion of your exertions in order to their promotion for any state of degradation to which the unjustifiable cruelty and barbarism of men may have reduced them. Sir, I freely and cheerfully acknowledge that I am of the African race, and in that color which is a natural to them of the deepest dye, and it is under a sense of most profound gratitude to be to the supreme ruler of the universe that I now confess to you that I am not under that state of tyrannical thraldom and inhuman captivity to which many of my brethren are doomed, but that I have abundantly tasted the fruition of those blessings which proceed from that free and unequaled liberty with which we are favored, and which I hope you will willingly allow you have received from the immediate hand of that being from whom proceedeth every good and perfect gift. This is Benjamin Bannker, folks. There's more. I'm going to read most of this letter because it says, here, sir, was a time in which, well, let me go back to this. This, sir, was a time in which you clearly saw the injustice. Well, let me go back one more paragraph. Sir, suffer me to recall to your mind that time in which the arms and tyranny of the British Crown were exerted with every powerful effort in order to reduce you to a state of servitude. Look back, I entreat you, on the variety of dangers to which you were exposed. Reflect on that time in which every human aid appeared unavailable, and in which every hope and fortitude wore the aspect of inability to the conflict, and you cannot but be led to a serious and grateful sense of your miraculous and providential preservation. You cannot but acknowledge that the present freedom and tranquility which you enjoy, you have mercifully received, and that it is the peculiar blessing of heaven. This, sir, was a time in which you clearly saw into the injustice of the state of slavery, and in which you had just apprehensions of the horrors of its condition. It was now, sir, that your abhorrence thereof was so excited that you publicly held forth this true and invaluable doctrine, which is worthy to be recorded and remembered in all succeeding ages. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Here, sir, was a time in which your tender feelings for yourselves had engaged you thus to declare you were then impressed with proper ideas of the great valuation of liberty and the free possession of those blessings to which you were entitled by nature. But, sir, how pitiable is it to reflect that although you were so fully convinced of the benevolence of the Father of mankind and his equal and impartial distribution of those rights and privileges which he had conferred upon them, that you should at the same time counteract his mercies, in detaining by fraud and violence so numerous a number of my brethren under groaning captivity and cruel oppression, that you should at the same time be found guilty of that most criminal act which you professedly detested in others with respect to yourselves. Come on, Benjamin. Sir, I suppose that your knowledge of the situation of my brethren is too extensive to need recital here. Neither shall I presume that prescribes methods, but by which they may be relieved otherwise than by recommending to you and all others to wean yourselves from these narrow prejudices which you have imbibed with respect to them. And as Job proposed to his friends, put your souls in their souls' stead. Thus shall your hearts be enlarged with kindness and benevolence toward them. And thus shall you need neither the direction of myself or others in what matter to proceed herein. And now, sir, although my sympathy and affection for my brethren hath caused my enlargement thus far, I ardently hope that your candor and generosity will plead with you in my behalf when I make known to you that it is not originally my design, but that have taken up my pen in order to direct you as a present a copy of an almanac which I have calculated for the succeeding year. I was unexpectedly and unavoidably led thereto. The calculation, sir, is a production of my arduous study in my advanced stage of life, having long had unbound desires to become acquainted with the secrets of nature. I have had to gratify my curiosity herein through my own assiduous application to astronomical study, in which I need not to recount to you the many difficulties and disadvantages which I have had to encounter. And although I had almost declined to make my calculation for the ensuing year in consequence of that time which I had allotted, therefore being taken up at the federal territory by the request of Mr. Andrew Ellicott, yet finding myself under several engagements to printers of the state to whom I had communicated my design on my return to my place of residence, I industriously applied myself thereto, which I hope I have accomplished with correctness and accuracy, a copy of which I have taken the liberty to direct to you, and which I humbly request you favorably received, and although you may have the opportunity of pursuing it after its publication, yet I choose to send it to you in manuscript previously thereto, that thereby you might not only have an earlier inspection, but you might also view it in my own handwriting. And now, sir, I shall conclude and subscribe myself with the most profound respect, your most obedient, humble servant, Benjamin Bannker. This letter was published in 1791. Benjamin Bannker, fortunately, was a free man at the time. But when you say free in 1791, you were still held to certain constraints as a person of color. Now, black people were enslaved in this country longer than this country is old, as far as the Declaration of Independence. This country became the United States of America in 1776. 1776. And black people weren't really free until 1968. That's 349 years. Hello? Are y'all listening to me? So when a white person gets on the Tell Lies Vision or the radio or podcast or any social media and have the temerity to open their gourd and say slavery wasn't that bad, you are a damn fool. And if there's any black person who wants to buy into that stupidity, guess what? You are a damn fool. Period. The African diaspora not only affected America, it affected Central America, it affected South America. I met two women a couple of days ago who were from Ecuador, and they looked black. And the only reason I knew that they were from Ecuador because I heard them speak, and they were speaking Spanish.
Host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine.
And I said, excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but where are y'all from? They said, we're from Ecuador. I also met two women from Honduras who were speaking Spanish, and they looked like me. They had the same hue, the same melanin as me. My wife is from South America who looks like me.
Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread
God only
the word
knows
about
what happened in those slave areas.
And if you are an entrepreneur or have an
upcoming
event,
time
or you'd like
you
to
get
start
on
a show,
national TV and fix your mouth,
here at JoinedRadio.com,
I hope there's someone to slap your damn teeth out.
Call me at 615-554-0568.
And on that note, we'll go to the top of the hour. You've been listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices, on JoinedRadio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
Welcome back to the second hour of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you want to join the show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Support our sponsors, JoinedRadio.com and RibRub.com. Just bake it, grill it, shake it. Oh, yeah. And, of course, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to build that audience. I hope you will get out there and tell your mama, your cousin, your sister, your brother, and everybody else, just tell them all, Okay, go out there and subscribe to that old man's channel. Yeah. By the way, I'm 64 years old. I've seen a lot of stuff. Okay, you know, it used to be back in the day when you hear them old people. Boy, I'm 60 years old. I see, boy, I'm older than you are old. I understand now. And I'm happy to be able to provide information to you. By the way, you heard me read that letter last hour to Thomas Jefferson by Benjamin Bannker. He was basically imploring him to do something about the slave trade. But let me just say this. Good old Tommy, he wasn't going to do nothing about the slave trade because he had Sally Hemings in the slave quarters next to his bedroom where he could go and rape that 13-year-old girl anytime he wanted. So why would he give up his tender young black girl? Nah, he wasn't going to do that. It was a nice letter, though, Benjamin. By the way, that was one of the first book reports I ever did was for Benjamin Bannker. I've been a fan of his ever since. Ever since. So, anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that. Man, oh man. Now, so this hour, we're going to compact some things. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Of course, we got what we must do coming up at the end of the hour. We're going to try to make sure that this segment, we're going to talk about Democrats. All right? And we're going to combine that with the other segment where the plan for the Democrats. All right? So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I saw an interesting post by a friend of mine, which, as you all know, I am not Democrat, I'm not Republican. By the way, I did finally go and get my real ID. And, you here in Maryland, you can register to vote when you get your license. And I was thrilled about that. Of course, I registered here in Maryland. And one of the questions that asked you, what is your political affiliation? And when I read the screen, because you do it on this little screen, when I read the screen, I was irritated because it was Democrat, Republican, and you had to scroll up a little bit before you got to other affiliations. I was about to go off, but I'm an independent, and proudly an independent. But I've been hearing a lot of the news anchors twisting in knots, worrying about the poll ratings for the Democrats, what's going on with the Democrats, and people don't like the Democrats. What they're not talking about is people don't like the Republicans either. And I'm loving what Gavin Newsom is doing. I don't know that I'd vote for Gavin Newsom, at least I've got time to decide. But here's what how the Democrats have failed people over the years. They have good policies, but what we've noticed over the years is the Democrats don't fight. Excuse the vernacular, but they're poot butts. They don't fight. They knuckle under. And the Republicans over the last 20 to 25 years has known that. I go back to Al Gore and George Bush. What would have happened? Al Gore decided to concede the election, even though it was in question. Y'all remember that was when we first heard about hanging chads. Some of y'all are not old enough to remember that. But the Democrats, I was angry at Al Gore myself because I voted for Al Gore. I didn't want another Bush in the White House. I wanted Al Gore to fight. He knuckled under for the sake of the Union. Come on, man. To me, that was the beginning of the end for the Democratic Party because the Republicans realized that we're going to run roughshod over these guys. They didn't fight. They have no courage. And that's what a lot of the voting public feels about the Democratic Party today. They have no courage. They won't fight. We just saw it last spring when the Democrats in the Senate had a chance to stall a bill, or at least kill a bill. They did not. Chuck Schumer gave all these excuses. And of course, the Democrats lined up behind him giving these excuses. And then what happened? The Republican Party, along with criminal Trump, ran roughshod over you. You're going to have another opportunity coming up here in just a moment. You're going to have another opportunity coming up here in a little bit. You can defund or not fund the upcoming government in September to make a statement. Will you? Will you? You have no fight. The reason they're trying to get rid of Jasmine Crockett in Texas is because that sister has fight. I've told you she's a national treasure. So what is Texas doing? They are trying to undermine the upcoming election by gerrymandering her district along with 5 other predominantly minority districts so that they can get more seats because Donald Trump's policies are in the red. What are you willing to do? Well, Gavin Newsom decided that, hey, we're going to do the very same thing in California. He had talked about it, but he has followed through now. And California is on the way to gerrymander the Republican seats in California. And the amazing thing about it is the Republicans in California are up in arms. Gavin Newsom, this is against any decorum and all this other BS that they're saying, but they didn't say crap about Texas. In other words, Gavin Newsom is fighting fire with fire. We've heard that a lot. We heard it from Nancy Hochul, the governor of New York. We've heard it from J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. We see now that Gavin Newsom ain't playing. And here's the bottom line. Everybody talking about, it's just a race to the bottom. Hell, we already on the damn bottom. In fact, whatever the bottom is, it is a bottomless pit that America is falling and continuing to fall because of the criminal in chief and his band of merry men and women called the Rethuglicans. That's just the bottom line on it. You can get mad all you want. I don't care because you know I'm telling the truth. I am sick of seeing these white farmers, these white people in these rural areas complaining about what is happening in their life now. Well, this is what you voted for. Just like I didn't feel sorry for the Hispanics, I'm not feeling sorry for your asses either. Because you're losing your jobs. Your farms are in foreclosure. Your businesses are bellying up because the tariffs are eating you alive. You voted for this person because what did you think? You thought because somehow or another, your innate racism has made you think that you were better than the black man. And because most blacks vote Democratic, you don't want to be on those sides that provide you health care, that provide you food, that provide you basic necessities. You didn't want to do that. So here you are now. And now some of you, particularly the media, has the unmitigated gall to tell Gavin Newsom, or at least suggest that Gavin Newsom shouldn't be doing what he's doing. At what point does it not look good for Gavin Newsom? It looks great for Gavin Newsom, and he is garnering lots and lots of support because Gavin Newsom didn't show up at the fight at a gun battle with a knife. Gavin Newsom showed up to the gun battle with another gun. That's what you've got to do. You've got to let them know that you ain't taking their mess. It's the same as any bully. We've talked about this over and over and over again. Stop complaining about what Gavin Newsom is doing and get on board. I'm saying that as an independent. I'm not even a Democrat. I don't know what type of message. Look, here's the message. It's a simple message. All you've got to say is that you're going to lose after the election January 1st, 2027, you're going to lose your health care. And many of your hospitals are going to close in rural areas. You're going to lose any subsidies or many of the subsidies that the American system had provided for you and the American people over the years. Your Social Security is going to be tapped. Your Medicaid is going to be tapped. Your food prices are going to be through the roof because we just gave $1 trillion tax cut to the top 2% in America. That's the message. That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say. And if you want to be more specific, if you need to say anything else, because my friend who posted, he said, the Democrats don't have a message. The only message that you need to do right now, anybody, whether you're Democrat, Republican, if you believe in this country, at the end of the day, if we have a tornado, if it comes down Tornado Alley, guess what? Those are Democrats and Republicans who are getting wiped out. Those are Democrats and Republicans who are going to have to help that city, that town rebuild. If we have a hurricane, you know what? That's Democrats and Republicans. So at this point, don't tell me you can't work together for a brighter cause, a larger existence, and that larger and bigger cause is the United States democracy. Because I'm personally beginning to wonder if, in fact, we're going to even have elections next November. Hello? Look what he's doing. I was in Washington, D.C. the other day. I was surprised because I didn't see many National Guardsmen at all. And I was around the monuments. I went by the White House, the Supreme Court. You know, look, to me, they're not a big deal. I even went by the National Civil Rights Museum. I didn't see many at all. There were a few here and there. And now he's talking about he wants to do this in other cities. He wants to bring the National Guard. Oh, by the way, Pete Hegseth just authorized the National Guardsmen to carry weapons. Are we now in Iraq? Are we now in Syria? Are we now in Israel? Which we're going to get to in a moment. Are we there yet? Hello? This is crazy. This is crazy. So here's the only message that you need. You must vote against anything Rethuglican. That's it. You don't need no policy. But if you need policy, tell them about Medicaid. Tell them about Medicare. Tell them about your senior citizens' homes being shut down. Tell them about how your Social Security is going to be affected. That's all you got to do. Tell them about how your rural hospitals are going to be affected. Tell them about how they're banning books. Tell them how they're trying to make you learn the 10 Commandments, your children. That's your message. You vote against anything Rethuglican. Period. End of story. This policy stuff, we already know what you're going to do. We don't need to hear that. We need you to fight. As an independent voter, that's what I want to see. Because we know at the end of the day, they pretend like they're tough, but they're not. They're not. It's time for us to stand up as people, white, black, Republican, Democrats, independents. Because at the end of the day, America is bad, but it could get worse. And when you realize that people from the Heritage Foundation and ALEC who are racist, race-based organizations are in the White House, you all who are of like minds better wake up. All of you so-called black Republicans, at the end of the day, just look at the black Republicans who is not in his cabinet, who carried water for him. You're going to be in the same, if the plantation could return, you'd be on the plantation just like everybody else. Talking about, I thought, no. There's only one thing you need to focus on, and that is to remind people that this Republican Party stole money from the American people and gave it to their rich buddies. I've been telling you all along on this show, follow the money. Hello? Follow the money. And you'll find out why so many of them decided that they will go. And look, here's the funny thing about it. They're going back to their districts and they're not even having town hall meetings. There are a few, but they're being barbecued in these town hall meetings. So some of these Republicans are not even having the meetings. And if they try to have a meeting, they'll try to pick and choose the people that they want to come to the meeting. They'll have it at a private location. And they'll try to pick and choose because they know that this is unpopular. You cannot let them live this down. And the reason that they did this is because they are being paid under the table by big oil and big tech. Millions of dollars. It's not just Donald Trump getting paid. They are being paid. And this is why you need to vote every one of them out. Even if they redistrict. Those of you who are white, who are poor, just guess what? When you go to the grocery store, you're paying the same damn thing that I am for eggs. You're paying the same damn thing that I am for chicken. You know what? Because the grocery store doesn't discriminate. This is the cost. This is what you're going to pay. And it don't matter if you're white or black. And it's affecting your bottom line. You need to fall out of this mess. This Republican and Democrat crap should be over. How is it that you're more loyal to your party than you are the Constitution of the United States? This is what we should be concerned about. So there's only one message, Democrats, and that's vote against anything Rethuglican. And those of you out there who are wincing or concerned about Gavin Newsom's tactics, go sit your ass over in the corner somewhere, because this is a new day. This is what people want. You want to criticize Gavin Newsom, but you're not criticizing Donald Trump, who has been practicing in this type of politics since 2016. Part of the reason that people voted for him, because for some reason or another, they thought that this portrayed masculinity, that he was some type of tough man, when he ain't nothing but a punk. I love the meme that Gavin Newsom put out the other day where he had a bottle of ketchup and he had it on his ear. Y'all need to go look at that. It is hilarious. It is on my wall. Because I got questions about Donald Trump's ear. Let's be realistic. Is it out of the ordinary now or surprise that this man would stage this? It's not to me. And when you look at his ear, if he got shot, even though it nicked him, there's not a nick on his ear. Why is it that this went away? What happened to the media? And why didn't they pursue this? Why can't we see those medical records? Instead of the Epstein files, which we're going to talk about in this next segment, I want to see his medical records about what procedure was done for his ear. Come on, man. The only fight you need, the only thing that you need to know, and you need to stress to your constituents, is that you must vote against anything Republican for the sake of the nation. Because every one of them, from the school boards to the state houses to Congress, have sat back and allowed this man to destroy some of the progress that this country had spent decades, centuries to build. And that's just the bottom line. Okay? Don't care if you're mad at me. You know I don't. We're going to take a break. Next segment, we got to keep talking about Epstein. Yeah, we got to do that. We'll be back in a moment. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. UnJoinedRadio.com.
Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah. Dynamic Dave for joinnetradio.com. I'm inviting all small businesses to contact me at 855-525-5683 and let Joinnet Radio set up an advertising package specifically designed with your business in mind. This is a great opportunity for small businesses to get your products on the air. Do you want to get the word out about a new business? Joinnet Radio is for you. Do you want to advertise your event or social gathering? Joinnet Radio is for you. Do you preach or teach? Do it right here on joinnetradio.com. Call me, Dynamic Dave, at 855-525-5683 or go to joinnetradio.com and review our great lineup of shows. Let's help each other and let's get your products in the hands of consumers across the country. Call me, Dynamic Dave, at joinnetradio.com at 855-525-5683. I'll talk to you soon.
Coleman's Dynamic Products would like to thank you for all the support you've given us over the years. Our growth could not have happened without your purchases and word of mouth to your friends and family. That says you believe and trust us to provide Coleman's Dynamic Products with no fillers and all natural ingredients. We began with our flagship product, Rib Rub, and now it has expanded into snacks, seasonings, salts, rib juice, and pepper juice. We could not have done it without you. I'm David W. Coleman, founder and president, and I want to personally thank you for the encouraging words and support. Coleman's Dynamic Products will continue to be the best dry marinades, seasonings, and sauces you've ever put in your mouth. That's ribrub.com, RIBBRUBB, and you know what we like to say, bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh, yeah.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. Now, I want to make sure that we understand something here. That there is a cover-up that is happening right now in our nation's capital. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And this man is doing everything he can. You know, the criminal in chief, the adjudicated sexual abuser, the Jeffrey Epstein friend, you know, the 34-count felon, convicted felon. He's doing everything he can to change the subject as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein. So that is why every time something comes that I see that I think is credible, I post it. And you should do the same. You should post everything about Epstein. Anytime you see something about Epstein, post it. Repost it. Share it. Okay? Make that go viral. Because there is a cover-up going on. And look, I don't care if it was Republican or Democrat. Whomever was sleeping with those 12, 13, 14-year-old girls, I don't care how much money they have, they need to be brought to justice. The question has always been in my mind is if this man trafficked over 1,000 women, many of them underage, Who was he trafficking them to? That's a very valid question. We've never known. It was basically swept under the rug because we're getting bits and pieces to understand now that there were some very, very rich men who apparently was a buddy with Epstein, and probably more. As I've said over and over, there's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump had something to do with underage girls. He's already been accused by one who was 14 at the time. There's no doubt in my mind. Birds of a feather flock together. Him and Epstein were too chummy. I'm not buying this and this new thing where he had nothing to do with it, because you know Todd Blanche over the weekend released some of the transcripts that he had with Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, the woman who was his buddy, you know, Epstein's buddy, who was in a Florida prison, a high security prison, who has now been moved to Texas in what they're calling Club Fed. And in this conversation with her, of course, she's going to say that Donald Trump was all, and I'm paraphrasing, that he was a gentleman. Never saw him do anything. You're a damn lie. And you know how I know you're a lie? Because you've already been twice charged and proven that you were a perjurer. You perjured yourself twice under oath. So why would I believe anything you have to say? I don't believe anything Donald Trump has to say. That's why it's hard for me to even listen to him. I would rather somebody report on it later than make me listen to Donald Trump. That's how I feel about it. So you're going to come out, you're slowly leaking out these files because there's a congressional committee, an oversight committee who have subpoenaed these files. So this, according to legal experts, doesn't cut what they were expecting. And a lot of the information that we have is only, what did they say? There's over 300 gigabytes of data. And what they released on Friday was less than 1% of that data. Why is this man turning somersaults to keep from letting people know that he was part of this, or that he had nothing to do with it? Why don't you just release the files, period? Is he covering up not only for himself, because we know he's in the files, but we also know that there are other people. Is he covering up some other rich people? Maybe one thing that we might be missing is that maybe some of those rich people who are giving him money are in those files as well. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe. I'm just asking. Because this is uber peculiar. Okay? So what I want y'all to do is continue to post anything related to Epstein. Anything. It's just, this country is, I know you all are upset, but at the end of the day, you can save face, because we need to know if we have a pedophile in the White House. And look, there's been no proof as of yet, but it ain't looking good for the home team. Excuse me. It's not looking good. Now, what goes forward, we'll see. But it is important. And here's the bottom line for me. And this is why I said last segment that you need to vote against anything Rethuglican. Why are these Republicans so scared of what's in those files? Why are you trying to save this person when you know he is incorrigible at best? Why are you doing that? Are some of you in those files? Are some of your friends in those files? Are some of your donors in those files? Because that's what I'm beginning to wonder. Remember, Epstein trafficked over 1,000 women, according to reports. Who did he traffic them to? We know what they were, the rich and famous. We know that many of them flew to his island. We know that he flew some of those girls to his island. We know that Melania Trump knew Epstein before Donald Trump. Hello. Hello. You see, Melania Trump wants to sue Hunter Biden. I pray that she does. You thought saying that you're going to sue him for $1 billion that he would back down? When at the end of the day, when you got the facts on your side, the last thing you worried about is going into discovery. That's a legal term. Because Melania Trump, when she first got here, she was a lady of the hotels. Let's be honest. Go look up the name Zampoli. He's the one that was effective in helping her get her Einstein visa, what we are now calling an Epstein visa. That's what she was doing. She knew Jeffrey Epstein as well. She knew Ghislaine Maxwell as well. So at the end of the day, why are some people so afraid of why this information may come out? Look, you backed a loser. Yeah, he won the White House, but he's a loser. And he may very well be a pedophile. We know he's a convicted felon. We know he's an adjudicated sexual assaulter. We have tons and tons of information about how he bragged about sleeping with different women, how he talked about fantasizing, or at least suggested that when he met a 10-year-old, he would be dating her in 20 years. He bragged about going back to his teen pageants. And by the way, you need to do some research on his teen pageants and some of his buddies. Yeah. This is just too convenient. And no matter what he does, we need to make sure to keep the ball on the court. And that ball is Epstein, and we need to make sure it continues to bounce. We cannot allow the air to be taken out of it. Look, we are a very talented people, the human race. We are capable of doing more than one thing at a time. We are capable of doing that. You do it every day when you talk to your friend about the show that you watch, and then you're working, and then you're talking about your kids or your grandmama. We can do multiple things at one time, and we need to make sure that we are keeping our eye on Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and these pedophiles. Period. End of story. Speaking of which, to show you how pathetic these people are, did you know that there was an Israeli ambassador? Have y'all heard about this? That was caught in a Las Vegas sting where he was going after a 15-year-old girl. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about the Israeli ambassador who was caught going after a 15-year-old girl and they let him go? Hello? Y'all hadn't heard about this? The Trump administration, federal prosecutor apparently had some problems as well. They let him go back to Israel. Well, this guy will never darken the doorstep of America again. But here again is a pedophile that the Trump administration is hiding. Hello? How does that make sense? This is why I keep telling you, we have got to keep our eye on the prize. We have got to. Y'all think I'm kidding about this? Let's Israeli pedophile in Las Vegas let go. Watch this. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Here's the Nevada Independent. Okay. Local criminal justice advocates and lawyers say that this man, let's see, his last name is Alexandrovich, shows the flaw in the case. So here we go. On Friday morning, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department announced in a press release that it had arrested 8 child sex predators as part of a multi-agency undercover operation over the last 2 weeks. But the arrest of 38-year-old Tom Artyom Alexandrovich, a senior official for Israel's National Cyber Directorate, quickly overshadowed the news, especially after news outlets reported that he had been returned to Israel last weekend. Hello. Questions over how an alleged child sex predator could so quickly leave the country have swirled in the days since, leading to rampant rumors, online rumors, and official denial by the U.S. State Department of interfering in the case, and a war of words between top government officials, including acting U.S. Attorney General of Nevada, Signal Chatter, who cast the blame on a liberal district attorney and state court judge. Speaking of Israel, have you heard about there's a possibility that the United States will start providing the same veteran benefits to Israeli soldiers? I pause for effect on that. Yes, they are pushing that Israeli soldiers and their families, by the way, will get the same benefits of American soldiers. So that means that your tax dollars are going to start going, more of your tax dollars are going to support Israeli soldiers. Now, my question is this. This is my question. Why does Israel own so much of so many American politicians? I got to bring this up. Okay? We've talked about this before. American politicians that get money from AIPAC. You know what AIPAC is. Let me do this again. American politicians who get money from AIPAC. Okay? Let's see. Pro-Israel, this is open secrets. Go out and check it out yourself. Let's see. We talked about this, last week? In fact, all of them do. Republicans and Democrats. All of them get it. So the question I have is, why do so many of these people bow down to Israel? And the bottom line is, and it's a simple answer, it's not complicated, it's money. It's money. Okay? So now you're talking about giving taxpayers' dollars to Israeli soldiers because for veterans benefits. You let a clearly caught child pedophile that was an Israeli ambassador slip through the American dragnet and go back to Israel, where he'll never come back to face charges. This goes on and on and on. We're also spending billions of dollars to support Israel, where they can send their kids. They got free health care. They got free college. Okay? We're supporting everything that they do. Yet they continually steal and lie and cheat the American public. When will the American people... See, this is what I'm saying here. As I said last segment, you need to vote against anything that's Rethuglican. But here's the other thing. I heard a Democrat the other day. I think it was from Texas. His district had been redrawn. And And he made an interesting point that part of the reason that many people want him out is because he's older. I won't get into that because I think some of that has to do with it. But here's the bottom line. He's served that district for over 50 years. I'm sorry. It really has nothing to do with what he suggested was ageism. It has everything to do with you're part of the sect. You're part of the cult that needs to stop. You're part of the cult that needs to stop. All of this stuff that is going on. It's way past time now. It's way past time. So it needs to be turned over. Democrats and Republicans. Because they are nothing but bought and paid. That's what they do. And they don't serve the American people. So when the media is talking about what message is the Democrats going to have, what message do the Republicans have? You see what I'm saying? That's where all of them need to go. They all need to go. But when you're taking our tax dollars and they're going to a foreign country where they're killing men, women, and children, they are actively committing genocide right in our faces, and we're turning the other cheek, where all of the other industrialized nations have said, wait a minute, the Prime Minister of Israel is a war criminal. That's a problem. That they're now trying to take over Gaza. Oh, at first they didn't want to take over Gaza. Oh, they would not go into Gaza. But now all of a sudden they want to take over Gaza. And guess who's for it? The criminal in chief in the White House, because he wants to put a hotel there? Are you serious? What are you going to do with all of these people that are in Gaza? Oh, you're going to do them the same way that you're doing those homeless people that are in Washington, D.C. You're going to go in, and I saw a video that was just horrifying the other day, where though the police showed up at this homeless encampment, these people had tents, and they just started tearing down the tents, tearing through the people. Is that what you're going to do with the people in Gaza? Now, oh, by the way, where are these people going to go? Where are they going to go? The part of the reason that there are so many homeless in Washington, D.C. is the fact that a one-bedroom flat, a small place, will cost you a minimum of $2,000. And many of those people are not even working. If they are making minimum wage. Who can afford that? Okay? And oh, by the way, your budget that is ran by the federal government, the Washington, D.C. budget, you just cut what? $20 million out of that budget? Well, what are these people going to do? So you're going to do the same that in Gaza that you're doing in Washington, D.C.? Is that what I understand? Is that how you're going to bring Americanism to the world? Is that what you want America to be? The memory of what is going on in Gaza? Because President Trump has a hotel in Gaza, and all of those people who lived there, who were born there, their roots were there, all of a sudden they're gone? Is that what I understand? Oh, I remember. It was kind of like Sugar Ditch, Mississippi. Okay? Y'all don't know about Sugar Ditch. But that's when all the casinos went into Robinsonville, Mississippi, and all those poor people, I've told you that story, how poor they were, and the casinos go into Robinsonville, Mississippi, and they run all those people off, and to this day, I could not tell you where any of those people were resettled. Where'd they go? Come on, man. That's what you want to do to Gaza. As I said earlier, it's not a matter of Republican or Democrat. It's about humanity. And at the end of the day, you need to vote against anybody who is anti-human. And it is clear that this administration is anti-human being as well as the Israelis. We'll take our last break. It's what we must do. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on JoyNetRadio.com.
Barbecue season is here, and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all-natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the dynamic pepper juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious dynamic rib nuts. Can't decide? Order a dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to my favorite segment of the show. Well, you know, as I've told you over and over again, my favorite segment is always the first and the last. But it's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. This segment is called What We Must Do. And I talk a little bit about things that we can do as a community in order to move the ball forward. And I want to read something to you because there are a lot of people out there who believe that we have no power. I've told you over and over again that we have a lot of power, and you've heard me talk about if you really want to break the back of a lot of these places in America that are racist, then we need to stop playing football. You know, college football began this weekend and everybody was just tickle paint. Just tickle paint. Yeehaw, college football. But at the end of the day, what would happen if you stopped playing? That's a legitimate argument. That's a legitimate argument. Because as I told you, you make, I think it was last show that I talked about, there are two ways you vote. You vote with the ballot and you vote with your dollars. In fact, you vote with your dollars more than you vote on the ballot. Okay? Because you vote with your dollars every day. And what I mean by that is you vote with your dollars because every time you take your money to a store or give it to someone for a service, you're saying, and when you go back, you're saying, I appreciate you. I'm voting for you by giving you my dollars. Hello? But as I've said over and over again, we don't understand the power of what we actually have. Let me just read something to you. Target CEO Brian Cornell is stepping down after 11 years at the retailer and as the company faces slumping sales and backlash to its retreat on DEI. Cornell's departure was widely expected. Some industry analysts believe Target should bring in an outside voice to lead the company, but it opted for an internal candidate. Cornell will be replaced on February 1st, 2026 by Michael Fidelki, Target's current chief operating officer. Fidelki started as an intern at Target and has been at the company for 20 years. Fidelki was chosen from a strong list of external and internal candidates, Cornell said on a call with analysts Wednesday, adding that he is the right candidate to lead the business back to growth. No, bro. Y'all ship is sailed, bro. See, the one thing about black people, when they finally decide to move forward, they move forward. Okay? And they've decided to move forward without Target. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is a clear example of the power that black dollars have. More than the gross domestic product of Canada. More than the 9th largest nation in the world. That is black consumers, black spending power. And less than 10% of that money goes back to black business. And then we turn around and we continue to make money for those who oppress us. That's real. So they spit in your face and laugh all the way to the bank. What this says about Target, who as of present has lost close to $15 billion, what this says is that black power is power. Black economic power is power. Now, if you want to go into Washington, D.C., You want to go into these black states, these black cities. You forget about all of these red states and red cities who have the highest murder rates, but you're not going into those cities because they are ran by white people. If you want to continue to take our history and change our history or say our history didn't exist, if you still want to back the blue who goes into neighborhoods and pillages our community, then the only alternative that should be done is that black kids should stop playing sports. Stop entertaining them. The only thing that they love about you is that you can entertain them. They don't look at you as a man. You know, I'm sitting here thinking about Warren Sapp. Those of you who don't know, Warren Sapp was arrested, I think it was about a year ago, because he was, what did they arrest him for? I think they were calling it interference in a political matter, in a police matter, when all Warren Sapp was doing was filming like everybody else. Here's Warren Sapp, Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Bucks. They didn't even give a damn about him. They didn't care. They arrested him. See, they don't care what heights you rise to because they don't look at you as a man. That's what Benjamin Bannker was talking about in his letter. That's what all that other stuff in Black Facts that I brought up was talking about, that you were 3/5 of a human being. You were property. So you could be raped. You could be killed. You couldn't even take your rapist or your murderer or the murderer of your loved one to trial because you were property and you had no rights. So you couldn't even testify against a white man. Hello? But you can entertain them. You can entertain them. You know, I posted something about one of my favorites. You know, I fell in love with Muhammad Ali a long time ago. You know, when I first heard about Muhammad Ali, I knew about this guy by the name of Cassius Clay. And I was little. I didn't understand why he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. I didn't understand this whole, I was 5, 6 years old. I was just a fan of Muhammad Ali. But as I grew, as I began to become aware, I realized that Muhammad Ali was a bold and powerful black man that we should all aspire to be. So I read across this piece about Muhammad Ali and what he said, because remember, he was considered, Donald Trump, he didn't go to Vietnam because he had bone spurs, Captain Bone Spurs, as we call him. But Muhammad Ali made no doubt in the minds of anyone why he refused to go and fight for a country that didn't give a damn about him. You see, all of these athletes can take a page out of Muhammad Ali's book. This was the world heavyweight champion. Here's what Muhammad Ali said. I ain't dodging. Let's see. Let me take that over. He said, I ain't draft dodging. I ain't burning no flag. I ain't running to Canada. I'm staying right here. You want to send me to jail? Fine. You go right ahead. I've been in jail for 400 years. I could be there for 4 or 5 more, but I ain't going no 10,000 miles to help murder and kill other people. If I want to die, I'll die right here, right now, fighting you. If I want to die, you my enemy, not no Chinese, no Viet Cong, no Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. Want me to go somewhere and fight for you? You won't even stand up for me right here in America, for my rights and my religious beliefs. you won't even stand up for me right here at home. That's the late, great Muhammad Ali. Hello? Now, if Muhammad Ali could do it, and many other great athletes of the world, it's time for black people to say, we've had enough. I know you're getting your NIL. I know you're getting your revenue sharing now. But at some point, we have got to turn inwards on ourselves and say, we are going to save one another. That's what it's all about. That's what we've got to do. It would bother me when I covered professional sports and I got to meet some of these professional athletes. First thing they want to do is go out and set up a nonprofit, and that nonprofit is ran by white folks. Now, I don't mind you setting up the nonprofit because I know what you're doing. You're setting up a foundation. I know what you're doing. It's a tax break. I ain't mad at you about that. But it was ran by white folks, and a lot of times it was ran on their causes. You see, I love these black athletes and entertainers who are building homes for low-income people in black communities. I love people. Part of the reason I love LeBron James is because he went back to his community and uplifted it. Kyrie Irving, a lot of these black athletes are doing so. You see, that's what we must do. It's the only way. You have to take your wealth that you've accumulated, because it was many of us who cheered you on in Little League and Pony League and said, you're going to be something, just keep going. You're going to be good to get you where you are. It wasn't just your coach. You see, quite often we forget when you were out there on the field. You know, like I said, when I first went off to college, those little old women were coming up to me and putting $20 in my hand. This all I got. Some of them put $5 in my hand. This all I got, but I'm proud of you. Give back. And if we are going to solve this problem, because we are facing a potential cataclysmic situation in the next few months, because as I said earlier, I don't know that we're going to hold elections. Are we going to be just so blind? Are we going to allow them to continue to come in our communities with the National Guard armed to the teeth as if this is Beirut? And many of them are not even doing anything for the crime in the areas that are participating or having criminal activity. By the way, if you were really serious about crime, why not give these people some jobs? Here in the Baltimore area, every day I see young brothers out on the street, and I'm not talking about the homeless because there are quite a few, but young brothers out on the street with Windex and squeegees, trying to make some money. And you know, initially it got on my nerves. But I talked to a young brother and he said, man, I can't find a decent job. I make pretty decent money out here and I ain't got to put up with a bunch of BS. I ain't mad at him. I'm a little surprised that he said, I don't know what he called decent money. I didn't go into all of that. But the bottom line is this, is that there is enough money by black people to put every one of those young black brothers that are on the corner squeegeeing windows to work. There's enough money to rebuild some of the black communities all across this country. There's enough money to feed a lot of people. All we have to do is decide that we are going to do it. We need to take a page out of what's going on in Africa right now. There is a quiet revolution going on in Africa where the African people are beginning to turn inwards on themselves to provide, support, and defend one another. We can take a page out of that book. We need to. Because if we don't, we see what's happening. This whole movement in America right now is about white people first. It's about white people first. You doubt it? Well, you tell me, why has he fired all of the black generals and secretaries of the Navy and all of the high-ranking black generals in the military? Where are the black people in his cabinet? Does his cabinet represent the minority of this country? Yes, it does, because they're the minority. You get that, right? This country right now is headed down a dangerous slope. And guess what? It's going to take black people to save it. It's always that way. Every time we've had to come through to save this country. We saved it in the beginning. We saved it in World War I. We saved it with the Red Tails and the 761st, the original Black Panthers in World War II. We saved it in Korea. We saved it in Vietnam when more blacks were killed per capita than any other race of people. We saved it. We saved it in the 60s when we decided instead of war that we would say peace, and turn the other cheek, although we now realize that that may not have been a sound strategy. Because recalcitrant racists have decided that they want to continue the status quo because of their racism. We cannot allow this to happen. And the only way to stop it is just like Target has learned a valuable lesson. It's time for the country to learn a valuable lesson. I recently learned that ESPN is not going to air the Spike Lee documentary about Colin Kaepernick. Why? You, ESPN, makes millions of dollars off of black people. But you won't air the Colin Kaepernick documentary? You see, that's my point. And it's time for us to stand together. It's time. And on that note, it's time for me to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can catch it every Monday, noon to 2 p.m. on joinnetradio.com. I also run a parallel broadcast on YouTube. Just go out and check out YouTube every day. You can catch some of the older shows as well. These are the things that we discuss. If you have a topic or anything like that you would like to get on the show, or if you would like to get on the show, I would love to have you. Just send me an email. We'll talk about it, and then we'll go from there. That doesn't mean everybody's going to get on the show, because if you're some lunatic, you're not getting on this show. We're about facts on Black Focus Radio. So I hope you have a good day. And as I close, this quote came to my mind: brilliant minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. Which do you possess? Y'all have a great day.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joinnetradio.com.